All right. Looks like we're live. I'm going to give this a couple seconds 'cause StreamYard can tend to lag. Before we get started, let me see. Make sure everything's working on my end. Make sure audio is working. It's always a little finicky at first. All right. Looks like some people are starting to jump on. So, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're hailing from. Let me know down below in the comments where you guys are from. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Nicholas. This is Investing Against the Grain, where we try to invest in non-traditional ways. In other words, I'm all in on Tesla when it comes to the stock market. Other than that, I just own real estate. I've done this for quite some time with Apple, with Amazon, now Tesla. Been invested in Tesla since early 2019. So it's been a fun ride. And today is a huge day. We've got so much to talk about. And don't worry, this hopefully won't be a regurgitation of what we've all already heard earlier today. So let's see. All right. Nice. Hi, this is Akira. Am I saying that right? Akira from Elk Grove. Nice. Hey, Laura. Thanks for chatting. Appreciate it. Let people funnel in here. So yeah, big day today. Unless you've been living under a rock, or you don't follow Tesla that closely, or who knows, maybe you use this channel to get your updates on Tesla. That's all good. Appreciate if that's the case. But we had deliveries today, and as was I guess not expected, Tesla crushed the numbers. So very happy Sunday. So let's just get right into it. I've got a handful of topics I want to talk about. We're gonna go obviously over the delivery. So we'll talk about that. We'll look at a couple things there. We're not going to spend the entire time on that. We're going to talk about China demand, some good news coming out from there. We're going to talk about Tesla stock. We're going to talk about margin. We're going to talk about whether you should buy now or not financial advice, just thinking it through. We're going to talk about how I say this all the time, that's game, set, match with Tesla versus everyone else. We're going to see more proof of that today. And what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about FSD. We're going to talk about Lucid and their deranged CEO. We got lots of stuff to talk about. We're even going to talk about, the two clowns in the Tesla anti-Tesla community, Ross and Dan. I say that with love to Ross. We're going to talk about that, give you my kind of opinion about that. And yeah, lots of stuff to talk about. So again, welcome everybody. Austin, awesome. Amsterdam, love Austin. Last time I was there, it was great. It was for a shareholder meeting. Got to see a lot of friends, Farzad and lots of other people over there. Yeah, happy Sunday for sure. Oh, Holland. Wow, I haven't been to Holland in years. That's great. I love it. Hopefully I get to Spain soon. Oh, we got a Houston. Nice. Houston. I used to work out of Houston a lot. So nice. Got a good diversity of people here. Love to see that. All right. So let me go ahead and let's just get into this. Hopefully you guys can see my screen starting now. All right. So let's talk about this. So first off, Roland did some good work for us. I'm sure you've all seen this by now. If you haven't, great. But either way, we'll talk through this. Roland says Tesla reports new production record of 479,700 and record deliveries of 466,000 for Q2 of 23. The growth in deliveries is 10% quarter over quarter and 83% year over year. That 83%, ignore that. That's we're not going to be like the media where we don't acknowledge adverse things that happen. We know that was during the shutdowns in Shanghai from last year, COVID. So we know this 83 is somewhat not real. It's real, but not real. Anyways, the Tesla fleet reached 4.5 million cars. So great. This is great. But words can say a lot of things that don't convey a lot. But a picture, a graph can paint a picture that's worth a million words, right? So let's see. Oh, got some New York City. Nice. I'll be in New York City. I'll be in Manhattan, I guess this time next week. I got a meeting there. Just going to be there for a lunch quickly. London, awesome. My little brother is going to be going to London soon. Our part of our family's from the Bristol area. So that's awesome. Love to see it. All right. But so let's take a look at this chart and why this is such a big deal. Hopefully you guys can see this decently. But here Roland has compiled essentially all 4 quarters of deliveries per year going back to 2017. And what's impressive is here you can see 2023. And you can see already in 2023, we have essentially matched the first 3 quarters of last year. That's wild. So I can almost guarantee you that we are going to eclipse all of last year with Q3 deliveries, which means we are on pace yet again to do massive, massive numbers. I mean, think about this. Let's see what we did last year. Okay. So last year, the first two quarters did not eclipse the first three quarters of the previous year, right? The last time we saw that was in 2021, right? So in 2021, which you can see right here, the first two quarters essentially eclipse matched, were roughly the same as the previous year. So we didn't see that in 2022. We are seeing that here in 2023. Now, that's a big deal because as you go further and further out and as you have bigger, bigger numbers, this should be harder and harder to do, right? Essentially, that 50% year over year that Elon's talked about since 2020 moving forward, it should get harder and harder because of the laws of large numbers, right? It's harder to do that on a bigger base. Yet, they're doing it. They're consistently doing it. So this is a very impactful chart here. Okay. So again, take this in because this isn't normal. This isn't normal for forget an auto company. This isn't normal for any manufacturing company. This isn't normal for Apple. This isn't normal for any company, right? Tesla is the only company that's ever done this fast with this complicated of a production um, manufacture something that needs to be manufactured and produced at such a big scale. I don't even know how to say these words right. And you know what the crazy thing is? We get excited about this, about delivery numbers, all that stuff. In 2 or 3 years from now, we're not going to be sitting here getting excited about delivery numbers. We're going to be getting excited about software subscription numbers. But we'll get to that in a second here because trust me, you guys know that's my favorite thing to talk about. Yes, this is a sexy graph. Yes, and days of inventory normalize as well. Not only did days of inventory normalize, but you can see that with the Model S and X that they're back up to their about 20,000 per quarter number, which is great to see. But there's also actual pipeline in the system. So this is better for Tesla because this means that if they have to shut down a certain line for maintenance, or if there's something that happens, randomly in the economy, a black swan event, if there's a disruption in, a ship gets stuck in the Suez Canal again, or whatever, right? They have some pipeline, some backlog now. So this is great for any kind of black swan event. This is great for people who want to buy a Tesla, but they don't want to wait forever. They can get it more readily, right? So this has a lot of good positive signs to it. But I could go on that, but let's take a look at something else. All right, so here we have Troy Teslite. So even Troy Teslite was off on this, and I don't know what's up with people. There's a lot of shade out there right now on Troy Teslite about him being so off and all this, and saying Troy who. Look, that's ridiculous. All right, Troy does great work. I love how humble he is. He says here, "Hi everybody, as usual, I want to be transparent about my error rate. The first table shows my error rate for production. The second one will be about deliveries." And here you can see, I mean, he's pretty good. I mean, even this quarter, right, when it comes to production, he was only 1.7% off, right? So that's as far as I'm concerned, he essentially nailed that. Down here for deliveries, this is the harder one, right? Because vehicles are in transit, people have to pick up. It's not like GM or Ford where it just has to get to a dealership. No, this has to be keys in clients' hands. And so for this one, he was off by 3.9% to the downside, right? So he was off. He was more conservative than what he should have been. But he'll take this, he'll iterate. But I love his humility to put this out there. So let's not bash our Tesla analysts out here, the people doing the hard work. But with this said, big kudos to my Tesla weekend. His number he was on the high side. Don't get me wrong. He was off, but he was off on deliveries by less than 2%, by 1.8%. So if you follow Troy, I mean, I would recommend taking a look at my Tesla weekend and seeing his numbers. He tracks things like crazy. I mean, I don't know what all Troy goes into as far as, I know he does a lot of DNV numbers and things of that nature, but my Tesla weekend will track factories and, he does a lot of stuff. He's got insiders at factories. So it's another good one just to have in your quiver, right? Another tool in the toolbox. So good one to have here. Let's see. Run rate for 2023. Let's see. Put this up here. Run rate for 2023 delivery will be 1.9 million. I think we're there now, aren't we? Yeah, that's wild. Let's see. Raymond Chen, hi. It's 1.9. Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, so that's what it is now. So if I mean think about it, if we get to 500,000 in Q3 or Q4, that's a 2 million run rate. And yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Well, we'll talk about next year in a little bit here. All right, let's see. Let's see. Rolling nine deep. This is Rod Stewart. Pants. Do you think? Okay. Well, that's. I'm not sure. I'm quite following that. Uh, Massive beat 300 soon. We'll talk about the stock in a second here. We're definitely gonna get that. Pittsburgh, nice, nice. I'm actually I'm gonna be spending 4th of July with a few friends from PA. So great company there. All right, let's get back into this. So I wanted to show you another graph here. The iconic James Stevenson, also someone who lives in Florida. So shout out to Steven. Gonna take a sip from my Tesla thermos here. Had to buy two of these because my Yeti is too big for the Model Y. So we had to have our drinks. So, anyways, all right. Here, James Stevenson makes a graph here: exponential growth, trailing 12 months, global Tesla deliveries. So, remember, trailing 12 months would be if you take this is the last month right now, right? And we look backwards 12. So, just keep that in mind. So, I don't know how else to explain that, but I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory what trailing 12 months means. Anyways, so let me try to zoom out on this, or actually, you know what? I forget. Sometimes I have these different views. I can do this. Let's see if this helps. And then let me zoom out here. Okay. We're working on this. There we go. Look at this. Okay, so down at the bottom here, you can see 2013, we're at 12,000, 2024. And again, these are deliveries, right? Actual deliveries, not production. You see 26, 39, 58, 93, 126,000, 33, right? So we are actually growing faster, right? So this is trailing 12 months global delivery. So right now, if this was the end of the last trailing 12 months, which it is, we've done 1.6 million in deliveries, right? So we are definitely going to hit 1.8, 2 million as long as there's no, I mean, you don't know what black swan event could happen. They tend to happen every once in a while. Last year we had like 7 of them in the matter of 3 days. Last year was crazy. I don't want to relive 2022 again. But this is massive. This is a damn S curve if I've ever seen one. So love this chart. Thank you, James, for making this one. I think this is a big deal. Now let's talk a little bit about what that could mean for Tesla stock, right? Because presumably you would think, okay, well, they just crushed numbers, so I think Tesla stock's gonna have a huge move tomorrow. If for no other reason, I mean, one, they beat numbers, but also tomorrow's the day before a holiday, so you're gonna see just less volume. So that should be able to move the stock, more so. But it's funny to see how the mainstream media always likes to kind of put their own little spin on things or not spin at times, right? They're so quick to bash Tesla, so quick to make fun of Elon or make him seem so controversial, right? Anytime there's a Tesla accident or anything, they're quick to report on it. And, essentially, if it bleeds, it leads. If it's negative, if it's anger, they love to talk about it and jump on it. But the second there's any good news, such as this, right? Anytime there's any good news, well, that seems to not get the same attention or the same excitement and extra is all I could think of. The same extra energy that you see with all these other events or things that happen. And so, anyways, so here's the headline from CNBC. Tesla reported 466,000 deliveries for the second quarter and production of 479,000 vehicles. Apparently, CNBC has all of a sudden decided that they're just going to be a news organization that's just going to talk about the news and not have any kind of extra verbs or hyperbole in any of their headlines. Nothing in here does it say that they crushed the analysts' expectations. Nothing does it say that they beat the expect, just beat, right? That's a common word for CNBC. Did they beat? Did they not beat? Yes, Tesla did beat, but you don't even see that here, right? How comical is that? Like, this is ridiculous. In fact, if you read the article, it's not even until right here. It's the numbers beat analyst expectations and indicate deliveries rose 83% year over year, right? Bearing the headline here. Like, what is that about? Right. So so what does this mean for tomorrow? Tomorrow we'll see what happens. I definitely think that the stock's going to react to this. It will definitely react tomorrow, but tomorrow you never know, right? You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow could be a day where people decide, let's just sell the news before Tuesday's market close, and we'll see what happens. That could happen. If you ask me, I think tomorrow will be a green day, but none of this really matters in the big scheme of things, right? None of this matters because it's all short term stuff. And I imagine the majority of you are like me, where ideally, we never really have to touch our Tesla stock at all because it's just going to grow to massive, massive numbers. And if we ever did sell any, it's such a small amount that it's inconsequential to the rest of it, right? I mean, that's the dream. That's our vision. That's the, that is the alpha that we're trying to get against the market, right? That's market expectation versus what happens, right? That's the alpha. That's what we think we have the edge on. And I think we do have the edge because, again, look at these numbers. These analysts, the predictors, the voodoo sign readers, whatever you want to call them, the chartists, the analysts, all of them, they all keep saying all these things about Tesla, that they're not a real tech company, they're not really AI, FSD, will it ever happen, yada, 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 the deliveries, the China problem, the competition's coming. I mean, they have all this crap to say, and yet nonstop, all I see is this. I'm not even showing my screen, right? That would have been such a nice, smooth transition, but I didn't get it. Okay, here we go. All I see is this, right? I just see these numbers growing and growing faster and faster, right? Like, I can't wait to see how Gordon Johnson spins this into Tesla has a demand problem, right? He's going to do it. He'll be on tomorrow somewhere. Uh, so you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen next week. Now, I will say I was on with Herbert. Um, uh, Brighter with Herbert. On what was it? Thursday, Wednesday. One of these days, I was on with Herbert last week, and he asked me, "What do I think's like what's going to happen next year?" And I told him, like, I honestly don't think there's anything for Tesla right now that's going to happen. I think the next thing that would happen will be the inflation numbers that we got this past Friday, and they were at expectations. They were good. They were what we wanted. Inflation's continuing to come down, right? We're starting to see more and more of that. And of course, what happened? The whole stock market rallied when that happened. And what I told him is, if Friday's inflation number is good, as long as we meet expectations for Wall Street on deliveries on Sunday, I think Tesla's going to run. So my opinion is that we're about to run into Q2 earnings. Now, that doesn't mean that we'll stay there, right? Because you never know who's going to trim, right? ARK Invest will be forced to sell some because of the 10% rule they have in their portfolio. So there's always going to be some selling, some people taking profits, whatever. That's not me. That's probably not you, right? That's all noise. But just expect that. Now, the big question now is going to be, what do margins look like? And look, I kind of stopped trying to make these guesses. I still have my models, my spreadsheets and stuff. And, I do try to do my own little thing, but it's, I got so tired of just doing it. And, you see everybody does it and everyone has theirs and it's always off. And it just gets annoying a little bit after a while of being so off. But what I do keep a tab on, though, is how things are trending. And I think things are trending the right way. But margin is a concern. Margin is a concern for Wall Street, right? Because Tesla is this behemoth of a company, right? They have so much promise and they need to deliver on these promises to justify their valuation. Now, margin's a big part of it, all right? And we saw huge margin compression this last quarter. Now, for Q2, we don't really know what's happening. We have yet to see a lot of the deflation that's happened in the market come to fruition on the balance sheet, right? At least the deflation that we anticipate. Now, to be fair, we've had Zach Kirkhorn also tell us that it hasn't come through yet. And he has said that he thinks that this will probably be the trough for margins. But here's something that I've been thinking a lot about. We don't really know how the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, is going to affect the margins and the revenue, the income for Tesla in Q2. So that's going to be a interesting. I don't know if a black swan's bad. What's a positive thing? A unicorn. That'll be interesting unicorn event. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but my point is it's something interesting there, right? That everybody keeps talking about these price cuts and price raises with Tesla. It might be more than just a clearing price, because a factor of that may be the fact that Tesla is getting they're getting more money from the government based on the batteries that they're making or assembling and selling. So there's there's a hiccup there that we're gonna have to figure out, and it's gonna take a few quarters for us to really understand that. Now, let's say that margins aren't better, right? Let's say margins stay around the same or even slightly lower. Will this send the stock down? In my opinion, that won't. The reason I don't think so is because I think people will not want to be out of Tesla ahead of the Cybertruck unveiling. And that's going to come at I think September is my anticipation. September, maybe October. I don't think people are going to want to be out of the stock for that. I think people will start piling in as it seems more and more likely that we're about to have the official handover of the first Cybertrucks to customers. On top of that, if there was a reason why Tesla stock or the market went down, I think it's going to be because of CPI. And here's why. I think this next CPI report we have, and this is, I don't have it up here. I should have thought about this ahead of time, but I don't have CPI on here. This next CPI that we're going to have for June, it'll come out in July, but it's for June. I think we're going to be lapping over a 0.9 number. So we'll probably see it as 0.4, 0.5, 0.3, who knows. But the ones after that, so the one we'll get in August, which would be reflective of July, that's probably going to be higher than what it was last year. Because remember, last year we had 2 negative GDPs, which I still say is the recession that we had. The recession everybody keeps saying we're going to have, it's going to come, it's going to happen. And now apparently it's going to be in Q4 of 2024, this recession that's never going to come, but everybody's predicting it's going to come. And they keep pushing it out because you know what? If I keep pushing out this recession by 12 months at perpetuity, I'm eventually going to be right. And then eventually I can make a YouTube video or have a clip and say, see, I told you I was right about the recession. Meanwhile, the guy over here that said, hey, we had the recession, a year ago, and we've essentially been coming out of it. Hence why I put all my money back into Tesla, or not all my money. You get what I'm saying? I was saving up cash because I didn't know what's happening. And then I told you guys in January that I put it all back in because I thought we were done. I thought things had changed. Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying I'm like a rocket scientist or anything here. It's just like we had 2 negative GPs. Like, that's a recession. Like, this isn't that hard to figure out, So I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will age awfully and I'll look like an idiot. But I would say so far in 2023, I'm not the one that looks like an idiot. But give it time. We all end up looking like an idiot eventually. All right, let's continue here. Well, let's go through the comments a little bit here, and then I'll continue because I think I have a new topic to go on to. Oh, actually, no, I have one more thing to talk about, but let's finish here. Let's see. If the base side, okay, let me put this up. If the base, well, this is not what I meant to put up, but that's all right. Let's make a controversial comment. Someone wants a recession or the prospect of one running into the election. I'm not gonna add to that, but I'm not. You can tell by my expression, my sentiment on that. Okay, if the base Cybertruck trim will be below 80,000, then all trims will qualify for the IRA. I think that's correct. I think that is. Agree recession last year. Yeah, we had it. Like we don't have now. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean we can't have another recession. I mean, we had a recession when COVID first hit. Remember, so it's not like it's not possible to have multiple recessions, but the one that everyone was anticipating, it happened, right? And I'm not saying that we are completely in a like 2019 type bull market, but I do think we're in a bull market. I do think we had the recession, right? We had the recession, two negative GDPs, we're up over 20%. I mean, like these are the pillars or the measuring sticks that we've had for forever. And yet now all of a sudden when it's not convenient to politics, or if it's not convenient towards a certain analyst or news channel or whatever, all of a sudden we're going to remake all these things, or we're just going to call certain things a bear rally. Like, I don't know. It's all wishy-washy. What I know is Tesla's up over 100% for the year, and I feel bad for anyone who's been out of it. Let's see. Allentown, PA. Nice. I've been to Allentown. Let's see. I just posted elsewhere. Simply advertise, continue industry leading margins, and let them justify the negative comments. Yeah, the advertising is interesting. Yashu kind of broke that a few days ago. So that'll be interesting to see how that comes through. Okay, so let me finish off on this thought here, so that we can go on to some other interesting things. So this is the last one. So um, a lot of people seem to agree with what I had written here, so I figure I would share it. Um, this is regarding Elon telling people not to take out margin for investing, and that Tesla can be volatile. And everybody started running with how negative this could be, and this was on July 1st. I wrote this saying maybe Elon's warning against margin because he knows they are going to crush delivery numbers, which leads to FOMO, fear of missing out, which leads to buying on margin, right? Chasing. And essentially, my point in saying this was, see, you can always spin it the other way. Elon's message on margin doesn't mean they will have bad deliveries. So my point in saying this is two things. First, don't be this person. Don't have FOMO and start taking out margin and buying. I mean, it's do what you want for your own risk tolerance or whatnot, but just don't be stupid. And to be honest, if you're buying a margin, you're probably gonna do something stupid. Have I bought a margin? Yes. Was it stupid? Yes. So I'm not saying you're being stupid. I'm just saying, listen, this is this arguably the smartest guy, one of the smartest guys in the world, one of the best entrepreneurs we've probably had in our lifetime, if not the. And he's telling you not to buy a margin. Just saying. I'm actually of the opinion that Elon got in trouble with margin with the whole Twitter acquisition, and that was his lesson learned, right? A lot of us I've had my own lesson learned with margin, so I'm just saying. But the other thing too that I'm saying here is, you know, just because he says something doesn't always mean something negative. Right? You can always spin something in a certain way to be positive or negative, and if you're reading something and you're spinning it in your own head to be negative, I don't know. Does that say something about your current state where you currently are? Maybe your current mind frame with that given topic. Maybe it's worth looking into. Anyways, I guess my message there is let's keep more positive thoughts in our head and not assume the worst. I understand it's been a rough, well, not this year, but last year was a rough year. The year before that was kind of rough as well. But let's make 2023 the beginning of the roaring 20s, right? That's my goal. That's my mentality. All right. So let's get into some other interesting Tesla topics, because while we have all this great news for Tesla, while Tesla is literally firing on all cylinders, that was intended, and they're crushing it on numbers, it's not quite true for everyone else. Let's take a look. So here we've got Alex saying VW is closing down ID4 shifts in its Emden plant due to low demand, as the Workers' Council confirmed, and Lower Saxony's Minister President Wheel, who sits on the VW supervisory board, is calling for more subsidies for VW at a time when all BEV sales in Europe are rising, but VW is falling further behind with its battery electric vehicles. So he goes on to say, quoting the minister, the current dip in demand, and not just at Volkswagen, but at all manufacturers, he proposes new purchase incentives such as reduced value added tax. So I don't know if for all of them, because it sure doesn't seem like it's for Tesla, but hopefully if they do any kind of extra, reduction of value added tax, that goes to Tesla as well. With all manufacturers, he probably means all German manufacturers except Tesla. Yeah, hopefully that's not the case. A few politicians understand that due to high subsidies paid by the German taxpayers to the car industry, its BEV supply and sales are weaker today than they would be without. Anyway, so this is not a good look for VW, right? They're the number two in the world, right? It's Toyota, then VW. So if VW is struggling here, this just shows you why it's so hard and why when everybody sits there and says that the competition's coming, man, you really got to take a look in the mirror when you say that. I mean, this is as clear cut data as you can get, and you have to wonder like, why is it? Why is it that people prefer a Tesla over a VW? Well, in my opinion, it's really the software. It's the band or the band. It's the brand. It's Elon, right? It's all of it. It's all in integral to each other, right? It was like Apple, right? Apple was the software. It was the brand of Apple. It was Steve Jobs, right? There's something about it, and it's kind of this three pillar situation. So VW is in trouble here, in my opinion, and it's not just VW, but it's other groups associated with VW. Take a look at this. Audi fires CEO Marcus Duesman. Here's what led to his termination. Look at that. Audi CEO, hopefully you guys can see that, Marcus has been dismissed due to declining sales in China and sluggish rollout of electric vehicle products, according to a report by Forbes. The upcoming replacement for Marcus, who is a high-level appointment made by former Volkswagen Group chairman Herbert Diess, is Gernot. I'm going to try that. The current Volkswagen Group strategy boss. Dolner is set to assume the position on September 1st. So okay, let me read this last one. The decision to remove Duesman was widely anticipated, given that he had joined the Volkswagen Group from BMW alongside Diess. As Diess has already departed and Duesman lacked significant internal political backing, his departure has seen as an inevitable. Whew, I struggled on reading today. Yeah, so this is a problem, right? So again, take a look at this juxtaposition. We've got Tesla here crushing it. Meanwhile, you've got VW over here. You've got Audi over here. Diess is out. The Audi CEO is out, who is associated with Diess. Their sales for the ID4 are plummeting. Even in China, BYD, we're finding lots of abandoned BYD vehicles. I don't know how true all that is or what it is, but there are things going on there. Toyota is struggling. We see just all these things, right? What else did I have here? Oh yeah, Lordstown Motors, they filed for bankruptcy, right? All this stuff going on VW, GM, they're selling what this quarter? 4 Hummers. They're deprecating the Chevy Bolt. I mean, Ford has, I think, declining sales of the Mach E. The F-150, I think, has done what, like 10 or 15,000 this year. I could be wrong about that number. It might be a little less, actually. So my point is, what's going on here? Like, this is just, it seems so obvious that it's Tesla's world right now, and everybody else is struggling to survive. So this is where I sit here. And it's like, how can you invest anywhere else, right? Even Apple, it's hard to invest in because where's their growth? Their growth is, okay, services is growing a little bit for them. I'll give you that. But with Apple, they're essentially buying back stock. That's really where their growth is coming from. They're not doing anything revolutionary. They've got the Vision Pro. Hey, I'll give you. I want to test it out. I want to test it out. I want to play with it. I'm not going to spend 3K on a first gen product, that's for sure. But I would say it's got more potential than Oculus because at least you can see through it, which I think is a very big deal. So I don't see any better investment out there. Nvidia is interesting, right? Nvidia is definitely interesting, but the problem with Nvidia, again, well, then you got Tesla, and you see what they're doing Dojo, and what happens if they offer Dojo as a service, right? Well, then I don't really want to be in Nvidia. And the other problem with Nvidia is that they're the you're going to make the least amount of profit on the hardware part of a business when it comes to a revolutionary tech. So, what did I just say there? Because I even confused myself. AI is this new fad, revolutionizing era we're getting into. And in those type of revolutions, right, the hardware makers, suppliers, the chip suppliers, they don't get me wrong, they will get their alpha, they will get their profits, and it'll happen. But in the spectrum of everything, they are not where the real money is made. The real money is made in services and software. And that is where Tesla comes in. Tesla has the hardware, they have the service, they have the software, they've got the full stack. So again, when I think about it from that perspective, why the hell would I be in anything other than Tesla? My whole channel was started again. If you look at my very first episode ever, it's me talking about why I call this investing against the grain. It's investing against the grain because everybody will tell you to diversify. You want to diversify your portfolio. Why? Because in bad times, you gotta, all this stuff. And in that video, I have a clip of Warren Buffett saying that diversification is a hedge against ignorance. And I agree with that so like to my core. If you don't want to do the work like I'm pretty sure I can say this that everybody here does really good work with their investment with Tesla. If you don't want to do that type of work into your investments, then you should be an S&P 500 and diversified. I agree. It's a hedge against ignorance. It's a hedge against laziness. It's a hedge against not wanting to do the work and the due diligence for what you're invested in. But if you are going to do the work, then it's idiotic to be in multiple companies. You know why? Because you cannot get that detail of an understanding of companies when you're in so many. You just can't. And so this is why I started this channel and called it Investing Against the Grain. Because people, to this day, when I tell people I'm all in on Tesla other than the real estate I have, they act I'm crazy. Meanwhile, if I ask them one question about any companies they're invested in, if I ask them about their net operating margins, if I ask them, okay, how many of XYZ did they sell last quarter? Well, what's their revenue, right? Well, what's their cost of goods, right? They don't know the answer to this. What does the future product roadmaps look like, right? Like, what are they doing with AI? They don't have the answer to any of these questions. So you tell me, who's the crazy one? Me, the person who actually understands the company I'm invested in, or them? The people who, sure, they're diversified, but they don't know what their companies are doing. They really don't know anything about it. They probably don't even know the name of the CEO. They probably don't know the name of the CFO. Like, you don't really know the company you're invested in. So that's why I started this channel, because I believe in being all in one, maybe two companies that you truly fundamentally understand and know. Now with Tesla, I think it's really, I think being in Tesla is diversification. Why? Because you have an energy company, you have an insurance company, you have an electric vehicle company, you have a play in AI, you have a potential as a service with Dojo. You can charging that. I mean, you go on and on, right? Tesla is a behemoth. Tesla is essentially Berkshire Hathaway in one company, right? They are just a juggernaut. Anyways, I just went on a damn rant there. My point is Tesla's on the island on their own. While everybody else is struggling, here you have Tesla shining, doing record numbers. Again, Audi CEO getting fired, right? Deese kicked out of Volkswagen. Volkswagen dropping production of ID4, ID3. Why? Because there's no demand for them, right? Toyota freaking out that they're so far behind. BYD with lots full of abandoned vehicles just to get their numbers up. GM, do they even sell EVs, right? Ford has declining Mach-E, Lightning. I mean, again, I can go on and on. Where's the competition? I don't see it. Kia's doing good stuff. I will say that. Kia's doing good stuff. I do see a lot of Kias out there. All right. So if that wasn't enough, then we do have some more good news for Tesla, which is kind of good news. And I say kind of good news because I don't think it's as meaningful to the bigger story for Tesla than what we already think about and talk about, and that's the supercharging network. The supercharging network, I think it's going to be great for electrifying the world. I think it's going to, maybe on the edges, people will decide to buy Tesla instead, branding, seeing Tesla vehicles and all that. But the bigger deal is that people are adopting the NACS, North American Charging Standard, because it's a better technology. it works better. It's smaller. It's sleeker. It's just the right thing to do, right? We don't need to be sitting there with a million different types of charging ports. We used to have that on cell phones. I'm so happy that we're all using USB-Cs now. It's just the way to go. I hope Apple actually adopts that. Actually, my MacBook in front of me adopts that for a charging port. So we don't need to go down that rabbit hole with electric vehicles. So I'm happy this is happening. And with that said, Polestar, Volvo have joined the NACS. Electrify America has agreed to adopt it. And apparently Volkswagen's in talks with Tesla around adopting the standard. Now, so that's a lot of great news. But in the spirit of these other companies, these competitions coming for Tesla that still just don't seem to get it, here we have Lucid, right? Take a look at this. So here we have Ray for Tesla quoting this with this headline from Rawlinson, the CEO of Lucid. He says, Tesla charging hype has gotten carried away, Lucid CEO says. It's just a plug, says Peter Rawlinson, who was part of the team that designed what Tesla is now trying to make an industry standard. So I think this is very funny to see this because, look, Lucid needs every break they can get right now, right? They need help, in my opinion. The problem that they have is I don't think they're going to be able to adopt this standard because it renders their tech useless, right? Their advantage essentially it becomes pointless. But there's such a hate here from Rawlson to Elon that I don't think he's going to bend the knee and adopt the knack. Now, where he does have a point here is that it is just hardware in many ways. Now, it's not just hardware if you're using the Tesla Supercharger, because with the Tesla Supercharger network, you're also benefiting from the software, right? And that to me is the bigger deal. This is where all these competitors like Electrify America go for it. You can adopt the standard. That's great. That's going to make it better for all us Tesla owners so that when we are traveling, if we see an Electrify America charging station, we can just plug in and it's no big deal, right? That's going to be great for us. But the problem is just because you adopt the NAC, the hardware, that does not mean that it's going to work like a Tesla supercharger. Why? Because that's the software. And the software is not exactly something Tesla's just giving out. Now, Ford and GM, they have this essentially agreement to be able to use Tesla superchargers. That's going to be different. That will be different because Tesla's going to make sure that there's a good experience when you're using their station. And, that can have a lot of positive effects for Tesla. That's going to have, that's going to be a good thing overall. But for Electrify America, these, with the EVgo, all these other charging stations, it's not going to fix their problem, right? It will help democratize the port, but the software still has to be built. It still has to be good. It still has to work seamlessly. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to get into trouble. All right. I got a couple more things I want to talk about. So for everyone who's on, thank you for joining. Please feel free to leave comments down. I'll go through these in a little bit. In the meantime, let me go through just a couple more things here, and then we'll just have a chat. So let's see. Okay. Do I want to talk about that right now? Yes, I do. Okay. Let's talk about FSD for a second here. Arguably my favorite topic to talk about. So, whoa, I just shook everything. So I was listening to George Holtz. If you don't know who George Holtz is, he is the founder of Comma AI. He also did a internship, which is kind of a joke, but he did an internship at Twitter when Elon took over. He's a very brilliant mind. He's 33 years old. He knows software very, very well. Anyways, what's his name? Wow, I'm blanking. Oh my goodness, Lex Friedman. Wow. Lex had Howard Schultz on, or Howard Schultz. Wow. What is going on with me? You would think I've been drinking. I haven't. I've been sober all month. Not Howard Schultz, not the CEO of Starbucks. He had George Holtz. He had George Holtz on, again, founder of Comma AI, and they were talking about FSD. Sorry, I'm struggling, guys. They were talking about FSD beta. They were talking about autonomy in general. And something that George was saying that I thought was very impactful was that autonomy solved, is what he was saying. Like, it's solved. Like, we know how to solve it. It's not a mystery. We understand the problem. We understand what we have to do to solve it. It's just a matter of getting there now. And And Lex asked him like, "Well, where do you think we are with it?" And he said, "I don't know, another 10 months, 1 year, something like that." And to me, that was signal, right? Here's another person saying that he thinks that it could happen really soon. And he Lex asked him, "Well, where do you think you guys stand in relation to Tesla and FSD?" And he said they're 2 years ahead of us. They'll always be 2 years ahead of us, which was interesting to hear. But what he was saying is that the problem is solved because we know what we have to do. And John Gibbs, I'm not related to him, by the way, Dr. Know It All. He's had some very good videos lately, like the last like 3 to 4. I mean, he's got a lot of good videos, but the last few have been very interesting, where he's breaking down a lot of the Tesla AI team's talks at a lot of these conferences, Shock and everybody. And essentially what they're doing is they're moving away from just an occupancy network to a essentially real world understanding is what they're getting to. And so they're doing a lot of work with tokenizing. And I mean, I'm not the one to sit here and right now spend another hour talking about this, but the point is the occupancy network is a stepping stone to getting to where they want to get to. And very much how ChatGPT works, well, really GPT, but in relation to ChatGPT, where it's predicting what the next word could be, should be, would be. That's what they're doing with these with FSD now. And this isn't out to us yet. This isn't part of 11.4.4. This is probably part of version 12. But the idea is that it's going to predict what the next sequence is going to happen as far as frames. So like the next like 1 to 2 seconds of video, right? It's going to predict it, and it can go against it, and it can just iterate, right? It can keep going back and forth. That's the point of these regressive transformers. Anyways, George Holtz was sitting there saying that it's a matter of getting to that point, just like ChatGPT did, but for video in the real world. And then it's about compute, and it's about having enough compute and having enough data. So it's about, and so it was just so interesting because hearing George Holtz say all this, then at the same time we just got done with Ashok, Alaswamy, and everything they're saying, and we had John Gibbs do a brilliant job of breaking it down for all of us. And honestly, he did a really good job at pulling out like really the key points. I listened to the talks myself, and I understood, I would say maybe 60% of it, and the 40% was just way over my head. But John Gibbs did a very brilliant, masterful job on like picking out the main points of what they're saying. And essentially, so you have that, you have George, what he's saying, and then you have what Elon's saying with FSD beta version 12. It just seems very exciting. And so, anyways, so what am I trying to get to? What I'm trying to get to is this tweet from Elon, which we're going to see in 1 second. Here we go. So Omar tweeted saying FSD beta 12 maybe later this year, and Elon said version 12 won't be beta. And so this may seem crazy to people. It may seem like this isn't going to happen, that Elon is just being Elon again, but I really do believe that this is legit. Now, what does beta mean in terms of version 12 about dropping it? Does that mean the onus on Tesla, that Tesla will be responsible for all of this? I don't know if that's quite where we're going to be at, but I think it'll be at a point where it's extremely rare for FSD to make mistakes. Now, they still have to do several things that are very low-hanging fruit, right? Like parking lots, right? I don't think they're going to start with parking lots. I think they could knock out parking lots in a matter of weeks if they wanted to. I think they'll be fine with that. But and then there's some like ancillary stuff that they have to knock out, which this kind of leads to I guess the last thing I want to talk about here, which is the Ross and Don show, which two guys who love attention apparently, and you know eh, these are the things that the Don project's talking about, are things that FSD still needs to master, right? um as far as like construction sites, do not enter, um probably more different types of traffic signs that it's not familiar with, or different ways of looking at it. How to deal with cross guards, right? Like all these like little things that I think the Tesla team really haven't focused on, because it's not the real problem. It's not the real issue. And why would they waste time? This is the biggest thing with FSD beta, in my opinion. They're working on the things that we can't really help by intervening, right? We can't help when we're driving FSD beta. We can't help on these issues by taking over or adding a little acceleration to the vehicle, because we don't know that these things are happening, right? Whereas something like a do not enter sign, all right, we're not worried about that yet. You know why? Because the humans there, human can take over, so we're not going to waste our time, our cycle times on our already 80% max out supercomputer. We're not going to waste those cycle times on things that the human can easily take over. The human should take over, and it's so obvious to them that they'll deal with it. And when we get to a point that we're ready, we'll deal with those obvious things because they're so easy, they're so low hanging fruit. But for right now, we need to focus on these more complex things, right? Like what they're doing with essentially tokenizing lanes, right, and reconstructing that and creating an occupancy network and what's after that, right? This is what they're working on, not every little thing that Dan can come up with. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think this is where you guys might hate me or unsubscribe, but I do think Dan has a point. And his point is that these things need to be fixed. And he's not wrong. And that's the whole point of beta. The whole point of beta is for you to go, you to snapshot, you to send a recording, you to disengage. And that should be signal and not noise for Tesla, right? Signal meaning it's so you have like signal noise. And if you don't know what that means, think of a radio station, right? Like if you're going through the radio station and you're trying to find it, like all that white noise, right? That's noise. Signal is when you finally get the station, right? So noise is bad. Noise is just things that are distracting you. Signal is right where you want to be. It's good data to make real progress. And so all those disengagements equal signal for the Tesla team. And so what the Dan's doing, he's not wrong. He's right. He's giving great signal for Tesla team, and they will take that signal and eventually they'll turn it into solved solutions. Now, the part where I disagree with Dan is the idea of taking this off the road. That's idiotic. And the reason it's idiotic is because in this whole this Twitter spaces that he had with Tesla Boomer Mama, Alexandra, love you by the way. I haven't talked to her in a while, but anyways, the whole like drama here was just ridiculous to me because he kept saying that it's a level 4 vehicle, that it drives itself 99% of the time just fine, but then it does these things and it's not really a level 2. And he was saying like people don't ever drive with their hands on the wheel and all that. First of all, that's not true. I always have my hands on the wheel when I'm driving beta, right? Even when I'm driving autopilot, I keep my hands on the wheel because it's more annoying to have to deal with the nags every time. So that's one thing. But also, you're not using it the way it's intended to. That does not mean it should be taken off the streets or that it's unsafe because you're choosing not to use it the way it's intended to be used. You're choosing not to read the labels, right? That is not their fault, right? It's like if I'm sitting there with a bottle of, I don't know, some of Windex. If a bottle of Windex, right, and I decide not to spray it on the glass and then clean the glass, instead I decide to take a sip of it and I get sick, that doesn't mean we should take it out of stores. That doesn't mean that it should be illegal until I can drink it and not be injured. No, it means I'm not using it the right way. I'm being the idiot here. It's very clear not to do that, right? So again, the Dawn project, the goal of it seems silly. If they really want to help, they should do what they're doing as far as testing and everything and just send it to Tesla. Help them iterate faster. Now, what I do, so I hate honestly all this BS has been going on. Like, I don't think Ross should have wasted his time going there. I don't think we should be giving, more. And I know I'm a hypocrite, right? Because I'm talking about it, but leave Don alone. Let him do his own thing. Just ignore him. Like, we don't need to give any more publicity to that. But what I am happy about is that this did bring attention to Tesla. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, the more scrutiny Tesla gets for FSD beta and they are forced to work faster, solve problems quicker, it's just going to be better. It's just going to grow that Tesla lead. And I think growing that Tesla lead is only going to be good for the rest of us. And I'm convinced that we are going to be there at the end of this year. All right, so I have ranted on long enough here. I think I covered everything. Now, the only other thing I didn't touch about that I had written here, just for those of you who are still on who aren't aware of it. So we did have China Shanghai delivery number. So like, if you order a vehicle, like what's your wait time? It was 1 to 5 weeks. Now it's 2 to 6 weeks. So it seems like demand's healthy going into Q3. Is that crazy? Oh my God, we're in Q3, guys. We're in Q3 already. Didn't the year just start? This is wild. All right, let me scroll up here. Let's go through some of these comments. Let's see. Um, what we got here? Yeah. This is talking about the Audi CEO. When a company fires people due to internal politics, it's not going to end well. Yeah, that's a problem with a lot of companies. There's so much red tape, so much there's so much hierarchy instead of keeping it flat. And that always leads to issues. Let's see. Uh, let's see. This shit. I think this will be interesting comment. True. I'm in the hardware side of IT, and my brother, who's in the software, makes more money. So sad. Yeah, it's definitely a real thing. Got an iced coffee here, by the way. I haven't sipped it a single time. Yeah, when in IT, hardware is becoming ubiquitous, right? It's becoming just there's less emphasis on the hardware, whether it's a data center, whether it's cloud, whether it's anything. The emphasis is really becoming more and more on the software, right? That's what virtualization did when VMware created virtualization back in what was it '01, something like that. It really took the focus. It started to take the focus off of the hardware. Now, hardware still matters, wrong, right? Like we still like you know NVMe drives and NVIDIA GPUs and like Grace Hopper that'll be coming out and with AWS Graviton, all those things, right? There's a lot of cool hardware out there, but there used to be a huge focus on the hardware and not as much on the software, and that paradigm is definitely flipped. What we got here? 7, Steve Jobs quoted someone: "If you are very serious about software, you should seriously think about building your hardware." I agree, and you're seeing more and more of this with companies. A great quote here, Renee. I hope I said that right. Um, yeah, you you see this with all of the best companies out there. Like you see it with Google, right? They're making their own TPUs. You see it with Amazon. They're making their Graviton GPUs. They're making their own um, like my gosh, why can't their inference chips, etc. You see it with Tesla, obviously. So a lot of these companies, Apple makes their own silicon and hardware, right? It's definitely true, right? The, and why? Why do you want to make your own hardware if you're serious about software? The reason is because otherwise, it becomes like a bolt-on part, right? Instead of it being intentionally, specifically made to work with each other, which is extremely valuable, right? It's that is a great example of high signal, right? When everything's made to work the way it's supposed to with each other, hardware and software. This is why Tesla can see so much within the vehicle is and has such high signal is because everything was made to work with the vehicle. It's very intelligent, right? They own all of the software, all the firmware from top to bottom. Tesla needs to build up a team to create rich Dojo API set for external commercial customers for AI training. That's how Amazon Web Services started from being used. I think Tesla will get there. But it won't be with this version of Dojo. It's gonna be Dojo version 2. Elon's already talked about this. Right now, this version Dojo is really just for video training. It's really just for beta. That's really what it's made for. Uh, I think Nick needs a good IT guy, or is the chopping at my end? Oh, well, hopefully it's not too choppy for you guys. People call me crazy for being all in on Tesla. Yep, hey, it happens all the time. Apple has been forced to introduce USB-C in EU. So it's funny. I have it here. So I bought a brand new MacBook Pro with the M1 chip, but my other computer, my work computer, is also MacBook. With the new MacBook Pros, they went back to the MagSafe, which I love. It's my favorite. So I'm happy that that's MagSafe again. But it would have been cool to see a MagSafe version of a USB-C. I don't know if that's possible, but that would have been interesting. But yeah, I love the standardization. It's just so much better. Rawlson was Tesla chief engineer for Model S. Rawlson, yeah, there's enough said about this. I'm not going to sit here and crap on him. Let's see. Hote no I. I don't know what that means. He's the famous PlayStation hacker. I didn't know that. Now all Elon got to do is beat up Mark Z. That's man. Potentially at the Coliseum, guys. Listen, let's talk about this. Who do you guys think will win in this fight if it happens? Do you think it'll be Zuck or do you think it'll be Elon? I'm so let me know down below in the comments who wins, Mark or Elon. And better yet, say why. Why do you think so? I'll tell you, I think, and obviously you're gonna think I'm saying this because I'm invested in Tesla or I'm an Elon fanboy, whatever. But I think Elon would win, assuming he can keep it off the floor. I think once it goes onto the ground, then Mark the edge goes to Mark, right? I still think Elon could be fine, right, with his walrus move. But here's why: if they remain standing, if it's a real MMA fight, right? But if it's a jiu-jitsu sparring match, Zuck's gonna win, in my opinion. But if it's an MMA, right? I think Elon staying up, he's got the reach, he's got the strength, he's got the length. If he can stay on his feet, I think the advantage goes to him because Mark's never going to be able to land a punch on him. Mark's so much smaller. I mean, I think Elon's like 6'3", Mark's like 5'7". Look, I remember in at the academy we had to take boxing, so we were always boxing. And just guys being guys, you always, like, I don't know if you ever grew up like slap boxing and stuff with friends, but one of my best friends, Dustin, I've talked about him before. He's like 6'3", so around Elon's height. And I'm like, I tell people I'm, like 6 foot, but really I'm like 5'11". And anyways, 5'11", 6'3", and we would box. And I'm telling you right now, that reach difference is big. It's really big. And I would say that Dustin wasn't that much heavier than me. Like, he probably weighed like 220, right? I was probably like, now I'm like 175, but at the time I was probably like 180. And so, that's still, that's a decent amount difference, right? It's a 40-pound difference there. But it was hard I couldn't touch him, right? Like, he had so much length on me. I had to go in so far just to even get close to him. Like, there's the reason why there's, weight limits to these things. Anyways, and now it's boxing. If we were to have like gone on the ground and wrestled, especially if like hit me and kind of like hurt me or kind of like gave me a buzz, a stinger, I would have been in trouble. And so anyway, so why am I saying this? Because take my height away, take my weight away, and then you have that same type of comparison. I mean, granted, Elon's a lot older than what my buddy was, and we were both a lot younger, but still, that's hard. That's a tough challenge. But if it goes to the ground, that's where, if you've never done jiu-jitsu or if you've never wrestled, like, once you get onto the ground, none of it really matters. Like, weight maybe makes it a little different, but it really becomes about technique. And it becomes about knowing your body. Strength matters, don't get me wrong, but it's going to be about who can last, who's got the stamina, who's got the forearm stamina and strength, and who can control the breathing, and who can stay calm and think their way, their positioning. That's what's going to come down to. And I would definitely put Mark on top for that one. Anyways, let's see what people are saying. Okay. We got British Jiu-Jitsu, each rank is worth 20 to 25 pounds. Zuck is tiny, and Elon grew up in South Africa. Elon the Elon the Walrus, Zuck is the Eggman. Oh, that's funny. Elon will do something up to Zuck. Yeah, I kind of think so too. Let's see. Elon is a real warrior. He is the walrus, cuckoo Kachu. Nice Beatles reference. If you know, you know. Nice. Let's see. Martial arts is my passion. Teach for over 2 decades. Elon with training will crush. Yeah, I agree. That's the thing. We know Elon's training. That's the other thing. I think the biggest risk to Elon, I don't unless like he screws up and like he somehow gets choked out or something like that. But I I knowing that Mark so I do CrossFit, if you guys don't know. Knowing that Mark, supposedly did Murph in under 40 minutes with a vest, I don't really believe it, but just the fact that he got through Murph, Murph's tough on your, on your, cardio system, on your engine. And so Elon needs to build up his engine because if Mark is doing CrossFit workouts, then Mark has way more of a higher workload capacity than what Elon does, right? Like you take any person that does CrossFit, even somebody who's like, not that strong or anything, their work capacity is going to be so much greater than someone who doesn't, right? It's just they're just up there so much longer at that high heart rate and that constant moving and push themselves that it's really hard to you just can't challenge it. You just can't. And so if that's the case and Mark is actively doing CrossFit or exercises of that nature, then Elon really is gonna have to get his stamina up. That did not mean that to sound the way it did, but he's gonna have to get it up. In fact, if you've ever seen like amateurs like get into a fight or anything, it's over in like 30 seconds. Why? Because both sides get winded. So controlling your breathing is such a big deal when you're doing anything, boxing, wrestling, or in a real altercation. Let's see. I imagine Mark will start taking steroids to build up some muscle. Uh, we'll know in a heartbeat. if, if you imagine Mark all of a sudden has like what's that gut that people get from taking steroids? I mean, obviously that would take a while, but that'd be funny. Uh, let's see. Programming competition. Oof. Oh, that would be interesting. Like, I don't know if Elon programs much. And don't sleep on Zuck. Like PyTorch is nice. And that's coming from Meta. It doesn't mean he's doing it all, but still. The biggest risk to Elon is 53. Yeah, yeah, that is. But you know what? That could be an advantage too, right? I call it old man strength, right? Have you ever like met or if you with your own grandfather or whatever, man, if a like grandfather or someone that age grabs you, it's like, what the hell? Like, you don't realize like how that grip strength and just those like meaty fingers you get like as you get older. Like when they grab you, you're like, oh crap, man. Like this old guy, like he could, he could do some damage. You don't realize that, but that builds over time. So I wouldn't underestimate that either. Let's see. Um, oh, this is a good quote. Tyson said, "Everyone has a plan until they get hit." Yeah, that's why I think if you've never been hit in the face, like I've never been in I guess I have. Anyways, well, if you've never been like actually struck in the face, it's not fun. Tell you that right now. But it'll let you know a lot, and it's a different feeling. It's not like in the movies with all these sound effects. It's like that's not great, but you respond or you don't, and I think that's what essentially Tyson's saying. All right, let's see. Got a couple more here. Yes, he does. At least he did when he had PayPal. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. That was so long ago. I mean, he talked about Cobalt all the time. Um, I don't know if he still does. I mean, I'm sure he does some stuff, but I don't know. A programming competition between the two of them, I would still give it to Mark. You know, I the, the thing isn't about being an amazing programmer. There are many great programs. And in fact, George Holtz was talking about that with Lex Frieden. It's not about being a great programmer. It's about being great at understanding who the great ones are and being able to kind of assemble teams. And I think that's where Elon really excels, and having these great ideas and understanding first principles thinking. Let's see. Tesla up or down tomorrow? Hold on. Okay, I think it's up. Not financial advice. I think I'm funny sometimes. Did you see the huge phosphate finding in Norway now? Oh, Rune, what's up, my friend? As big as the rest of the world combined found phosphate. Wow, no, I did not see this. Oh, my wife is going to be very excited about this. Norway on the map once again. Uh, wow, I wonder what that means. I wonder who's gonna start mining that. When's gonna happen? The contracts. Yeah, no, that's great. I'm gonna have to look that up later. Any guess about stock price this week? Oof, short-term price targets. I don't do these, guys. I don't know these. These are all guesses. I'm gonna say $100. No, I'm kidding. If I'll play. If I honestly had to guess, I would say. Uh, Let me just remember. What were we at? 260. Let me see. What did we close at? 261.77 we closed. Let's say I'm gonna say we go up to. All right, ready for this? I say we break 280. I say we break 280 this week. Yeah, because inflation data was good. We crushed numbers here. No other company really to invest in. I don't think the Fed's speaking this week. Yeah, why not? Let's say 280. Not financial advice, but that's what I think. Uh, Mark Spiegel, Jim Chanos increasing their short position after. I don't think anyone's increasing their short position after today. All right. Well, it's been fun, guys. I appreciate everybody jumping on. Hey, it's been a freaking amazing Sunday. So happy that the numbers were great. Yeah, I think tomorrow will be a good day. If anything, things could swing even higher and faster because there's probably gonna be low volume. Don't forget, markets are closed on Tuesday, and I think things are going good. The only thing I would be cautious about overall, it has nothing to do with Tesla. It's really just the economy. I'd be cautious about CPI numbers when they come out in August and maybe September, just because we'll be lapping those negative numbers we had. So I think that would be a big deal. Um, Anyways, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think overall things are getting better. I think the worst is behind us. I think there's a lot of positive moving forward. I am of the opinion that we're in a bull market. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think we're in a bull market? Do you think we're not? And hopefully we can get to 300. But all right, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you later. Peace.